What's going on, everyone? This is BunnyMuffins. I'm here with ProGuides today. We are going to be going over Berserkers today. Berserkers are a very strong composition, and frankly, they're very underrated, in my opinion. The reason why a lot of the very top players aren't playing them is because this composition is low skill cap, and they can use a lot of their skill expression to get much higher placements with other compositions, but for everyone else, if you're not top 10 challenger, this is a very, very strong composition, and I think more people should definitely be going for it. And I hear a lot of things where people say stuff like, oh, it's like a terrible composition if you don't hit Olaf 2. You need very specific items for it to make it work. And frankly, they're wrong. They just don't know how to play the early game for Berserkers, and I'm going to teach you how to do that right now. So this is a low master, high diamond game. I'm playing on a relatively new account this season. It only has a couple of games on it, but you'll be able to see how you can snowball a strong early game into a pretty decent late game in order to get top 3 finishes with Berserkers. And again, people say the items are this composition is very item dependent. You need like RFC, Infinity Edge, Guardian Angel, Olaf, or whatever they think are the best Olaf items are, and they're just wrong. You just need Lockets, and you need Zeke's Heralds for your mid game, and if you get that, you don't even need Olaf 2 to place well. You're going to get at least top 4 if you get a good start, and just use that health pool that you have, that you developed, into pretty high placement. And if you do end up hitting the Olaf 2, you go even higher. If you get Olaf 2 with great items, you can even win the game, as you'll see in this scenario. So spoiler alert, we do win the game, but we do end up hitting everything, and even though people say that Berserkers can't get first place, if things fall in your favor, anything's possible. But again, you just need a strong early game with a bunch of Lockets, and then that's how you'll snowball the game into pretty high average placements. And a lot of people think you need to get first place every time you play the game. They're like, oh wow, this composition sucks because you did not, like, it's impossible to win because this other comp, when they high roll, they get first all the time. And you just ignore those people. If you're placing third every game, you're going to be climbing really, really quickly, and with Berserkers you can do that. I know one of my friends that I coach every now and then, he went from silver 4 to plat 2 in like a week, just only playing Berserkers, because he does the Locket build and the Zeke's build, and he's not afraid to build those items. But yeah, we get a very fortunate start here. We get this Yasuo at level 2 very early, and I just go ahead and build a Static Shiv on him, because right now I'm thinking I'm going Rangers. Static Shiv already, and then the Rod on my bench can turn into a Morrocrux for Singe later, and then the crit item turns into Infinity Edge for Twitch. So right now, I am thinking Berserkers. I am thinking Rangers, and I already have 2 Leonas as well, which is an amazing start. Unfortunately, Yasuo actually isn't that useful right now because we're not on Cloud Map, and Blade Masters are very lackluster, to say the least, in this game right now. But I'll use him as my carry unit for the early game, so even though Static Shiv is not very good on Yasuo because he doesn't actually trigger the effect when he ults, if you guys didn't know before, his ultimate is he does like a bunch of attacks on the enemy with the most items, and that doesn't actually trigger Static Shiv, so in case you were wondering about that interaction, it does not work, but still a decent item on him because he's going to attack relatively quickly and gives him more mana, so he ults quicker. And you just want to identify who your carries are early, just stack items on them, and I'm going to end up selling him anyways because I'm hoping to transition into Rangers right now. I hold the Sivir on my bench, just because early game getting the Blade Master bonus with the Static Shiv is a big upgrade, but since we hit the level 2 Ivern, I'm just going to forego Sivir for now and likely put her in at level 4. Or I could put in Bree Woodlands to get the clone. Not really too sure which one's better at this point, but we'll see. It could be argued that since I have like a Rod, I could just drop the Rod on Nico and put her in, but we definitely do want to make interest somehow, so we need to decide which one is stronger. Yeah, and since we've spent a lot of gold on units, we probably can't make interest for a while. I do hit the Talia here. It is debatable whether that's better than the Woodland buff as well. This is a pretty tough turn. Luckily, it's tough in the sense that everything I have is very strong. I forget what I end up doing here, but I think not buying Talia is the right move because I want to make interest, and I think I should probably put Nico in and then sell the Sivir to get to 10 gold, or sell the rest of my bench, the people on the left side. But I kind of want to keep Nasus because it gives me a good Warden base with Leona. Also, we're not on mountain map, so Talia isn't as useful as you might think it is. So unfortunately, we low roll the Woodland buff here. We get Nico cloned, and we're facing the guy with Kindred 2 at this stage in the game, which is probably the only thing that is stronger than Yasuo 2 right now. That's honestly like, he pretty much has a perfect Kindred right now with Hat and a tier already. So unlucky for us because we don't get to snowball a huge win streak, which we would be able to in like 90% of scenarios here. So I'm looking to finish an Infinity Edge right now because I plan on going Twitch and Rangers, so I think I do end up picking up the sword here if it is available. If not, I'd probably take the belt for Morello and then just drop it on Nico for now. Nico, great item holder for belt, or for Morello, because her ability hits such a wide area and it triggers a couple times, so it's pretty much guaranteed to get a lot of value compared to other units. So we get the Nasus here and the Leona. I think this is when I should... Oh, I actually sold the Nasus, so we don't actually get the Nasus upgrade, but definitely want to build IE here. I probably should try to pick up the other Nasus, and I do end up leveling up here. It's mainly just because I have a lot of upgraded units, and like, I'm pretty sure I could start a new win streak right now, so even though I lost my old one, since my team is so strong, pretty easy to just start up another win streak, to be honest. And keep in mind, the BladeMaster buff, it does make Static Shiv go faster, so it is something to look out for. I probably should have put the Rod on Nico last round as well, because I'm going to be selling the unit eventually, and she's probably the best holder for it anyways. Yeah, we don't need any of these other units. Nasus is useful, but he's mainly useful for the first part of the game because he's a great item holder, but we already have an item holder, and I'd rather just make the interest right now. I could just go into like Nautilus or Thresh if I really need a second Warden later. So here, again, I want to go Rangers, but honestly, Olaf doesn't need perfect items, and we already have Infinity Edge, which is one of his best ones, but if we put Static Shiv on an Olaf, I'm not going to be sad about it, you know? He attacks so quickly anyways that even though it's a suboptimal item, it's still very good on him, so I think I just pick him up here just to keep him on my bench for now. But I really did not want to go Berserkers this game because I have pretty perfect Ranger items, but we've only hit Varus so far, so if you're not hitting a composition in terms of champions, you gotta find other compositions that you could transition into. Because a lot of people build their compositions off of whatever items they get, and it could be a trap sometimes, because if you end up not hitting them, you're gonna get probably bottom 3. You have to make sure that you can hit both the items and the champions. So Infinity Edge and Static Shiv, pretty flexible items in my opinion. Infinity Edge is best in slot for Rangers, best in slot for Kindred, well, maybe not best, but very high tier in Kindred, and really good in Berserkers. So in that sense, it's a flexible item, and Static Shiv, it's just good on everyone early game, and late game it gives attack speed and mana, and literally every champion can utilize attack speed and mana. So that's a really flexible item as well. So I want to sell all my woodlands because I have a lot of upgrades, and that's why I do a swap like that, because if I do end up getting a lot of gold from these Crumbz, I could get to 30 gold by selling everything. So if your team's strong enough to deal with like the neutral camps, always sell or put your early game units on the bench, as I do here. Yeah, so here I just sell everyone off because we just make the interest from there. And had I not done that, I would not have 30 gold right now. I'd only get 20 gold, and I just have extra units on my bench, so always something to look out for. So we get the Varus here. I am extremely happy about that because, again, I want to go Rangers, but unfortunately he can't take over any of the items. So I think I just have to buy him here and then put other units in. Ezreal, obviously, he gets a Glacial with Olaf, but Olaf's pretty useless without Berserkers and level 1s. But yeah, I end up buying the bow on him because I either build a bow item on him eventually anyways, or I sell him and just complete a random ranger item on him. That ranger item would probably be like second Static Shiv or Last Whisper. Last Whisper is very good with Infinity Edge because with more crit, it makes Last Whisper more effective, making it like one of the best Twitch item combinations ever. I should probably buy the Brahms here. Okay, yeah, I do that. Brahms a pretty good mid-game unit for Rangers because with Ezreal, even though Ezreal's not a part of most Ranger builds because people rather get like the Infernos, Kindred's very contested, so Ezreal's not like a bad unit to pick up at all, and he just pairs very well with Braum because it gives you a bunch of CC. So I do hit the Braum here, but I kind of don't want to sell the Olaf because I think when I scouted earlier, there are like a bunch of Rangers taken. So I do end up selling a couple things here, but I think I do complete the Braum just because the upgrade's too strong right now. The 3 glacial buff doesn't really matter. It's like, it's okay if you have a random Olaf in there. Because I just want to keep the option open in case Berserkers do come up. But we only have 2 Berserkers right now, so we can't really go for the comp yet. And because I bought so many units early, I have no econ, so I cannot go fast 7 in this game. I also scouted earlier, and I saw that no one was going Berserkers, and that's another reason why I kept it on my bench, even though, again, I have pretty perfect Ranger items. So we get nothing here. Volibear would be great for Berserkers, so I do end up picking him up, but just not much room for him right now. Really tough to say whether the 4 Glacial is worth it over like 2-star Leona with Warden. Looking back at it now, like I still can't really think of which one actually is better. Perhaps getting the 4 Glacial is really good just because it's tough to say. They're both really strong. I'm struggling this game of deciding which OP thing I want to build. So we're facing the Kindred guy again. Luckily we have Yasuo, which is a very good counter unit to him, and in the last game I think Yasuo got sniped by his Kindred, whereas this game he was on the other side of her, so he was able to kill her. Unfortunately we still lose just because his team is super strong right now. Even with sniping the Kindred, we still lose by 2 units. But it's okay, we're not going to miss any interest from that because we have Carousel to sell whatever we want. So we had a Rod and an attack speed. So I have to make a decision of what comp I want to go now. I could go Last Whisper by getting the gloves for Twitch. I could go Morella, which is good in both comps, but unfortunately no belts here. So I think I do end up just going RFC, getting an Olaf item, and then that's when I decide to transition into him. Yeah, pretty much all these items are they're usable. Cloak, not that great, but it could always turn into a Zephyr later. But when you're first pick and you get a bow for RFC on Olaf, you can't really complain about too much. We get the Renekton there, but again, we don't really have like the room for all the Berserkers yet, but I just build RFC there. On Twitch, it's not the worst item either because then it allows him not to move the entire game. and it gives him a bunch of attack speed, which is pretty decent anyways. So we do end up leveling to level 7 here, and I'm debating if that was a mistake, because we did lose the win streak, but we have like a lot of good synergies to put in because we get both Berserker and Glacial. So it's really tough to say whether that was the correct move or not. It's all pretty close. This guy hit the brand 2 with 50 gold, but luckily we're still able to beat him. Yeah, level 6, 50 gold. Wow. But he just got unlucky because we have Yasuo, which is like a counter to those types of builds. But yeah, you can see this lobby is pretty high roll. It's not just me who's getting good draws. Like the other guy had level 2 Kindred super early, and then this guy is a brand 2 right away. But yeah, I think once I got the Volibear, or sorry, the Renekton upgraded, it's probably time to switch, just because there are a bunch of other Ranger players, and because everyone's going Kindred, and then no one's going Berserkers at all, so that's why you see me scouting a bunch, just to double and triple check that indeed no one's actually going for Berserkers. And since I have Olaf 1 already, I felt pretty confident in being able to find the second Olaf. Or not second, 2-star Olaf. And that brand really has perfect items too. So we get this Scion here. We don't need to sell this Yasuo yet, but I keep him on my bench. I'm employing the same trick as before. Just put the unit you don't need on your bench during the neutral rounds, just in case you can make the next interest threshold. But I probably don't even make it this turn, because I'm probably going to get like a couple gold to bring me to 40 anyway, so it doesn't matter too much at this point. But it's just a good habit to get into if your team's strong enough to defeat the neutral round. So we get Tear and we get Rod. Not much we could build from that. I mean, Hat's okay, but on Singed it's not really that great, to be honest. He really just needs a Morello. Any other AP item, it's like, he can use it. Like, he could use Jeweled Gauntlet, he could use Hat, but it's not like that useful in my opinion. So I do hold off on rolling here because even though I can get upgrades and I'm looking for other Berserkers, it's not necessary because my team's very strong right now. I got 4 Glacial and like a super carry Yasuo, and until I get one more Olaf, I don't really want to roll yet because it's gonna be, I'm gonna have to invest too much money into completing him. And he's not even my carry right now. My carry is Yasuo, so you need to recognize when you're strong, and because some people, they might just say, oh, it's 4-1, it's after Wolf Camp, I'm going to roll down like how I always do every game, and you just don't need to do that all the time. And this is like the lowest damage Olaf I've ever seen, but he still kind of gets the job done. So now we find Mundo, we find Volibear, so perhaps at this point when 1 off Volibear and 2 off Mundo and Scion, could be argued that I could roll a little bit to put in 6 Berserkers, but everything I have is upgraded. Like my Braum, I don't want to replace yet, so even though you can go for your comp right away, I'm high health. I can greed to level 8, no problem. I don't think I should switch Yasuo for Scion right now. I think that's a bad move. Yeah, I think that was a big mistake. No reason for me to do that there. Because that Infinity Edge, just like, you saw how little damage Olaf was doing, and like Yasuo's gonna hit their main carries like a bunch of times, so there's no reason for me to do that exchange there. Yeah, because level 2 units, even though like he provided no synergies, the unit I added in, Scion, he didn't provide any synergies either, so there's just no point in doing that. If I added in like Desert, maybe it's arguable that it's fine, but at this point in the game, it was very stupid to do that. I thought maybe the CC from Scion might have helped, but yeah, just having like a very strong level 2 unit with like 2 beautiful items on him would have been a lot stronger. So on this next carousel, I'm trying to figure out what I want. Definitely you want to start building the next Olaf item. I could probably just build a Hush on him and call it a day. Or I could go for Morello for Singed. Probably Morello might be better actually. Since I have 2 rods, I need to start using them very quickly. And the best way to do that would just be to build the item on them as soon as possible. Even though like getting an Olaf item is more optimal for the team, it's like when you have 2 rods, you need to find a way to use them. Could also go Locket since I am last pick. And when I'm last pick, I can't expect to get exactly what I want, so it's mainly just defensive items at that point. But pretty much everything works for me, I'll be honest. Like, there won't be an item I'd be very disappointed with, because, yeah, I'm trying to think of an item that wouldn't work, and I guess another rod would be the only thing that I wouldn't want. But rods are normally taken. So all the healths are taken, so I think I just end up grabbing the second Olaf here, because Nextron's pretty good on him. I could just go Dragon Claw, or I could go... Oh no, I actually don't go for the Olaf. I get the armor for Locket. Okay. Looking back at it, I think I should have just gotten the Olaf and then rolled down for third Olaf and then just build a Hush on him. But Locket's fine as well. Again, I think it was my thought process of just needing to use the rods because I have so many of them. So I do level up and roll here. I think that's a mistake. I don't think I should have been doing that. Maybe I was a little worried because I lost the past couple of rounds, so my life total got a little lower, so I wanted to add in 6 Berserkers, but looking back at it now, I think that's definitely a mistake that I made. I should have just stayed put. I end up putting the Static Shiv on Varus because I know I'm going to sell him, so I don't need to put him on Twitch yet. Because I could always drop Static Shiv on Olaf, it's like not bad at all. Yeah, I definitely big mistake rolling there. I probably wanted to just find 6 Berserker at that point in the game, but I don't think I needed to do that yet. Man, that guy has perfect Kindred items. You always want your Kindred to look like that. Seraph's Hat and a Rapid Fire Cannon. Maybe double Seraph's is slightly better, but it doesn't get better. You can't complain about that. Yeah, so no one's going Olaf. We found 2 of them, but it's a little unfortunate. Like, the other people were able to find their forecasts relatively early. Even though we found Twitch, he's not really useful until we find Singed. So we actually find the 6 Berserkers now, so that's pretty fortunate for us, but I think that's maybe what I was looking for. I should probably move everyone back a row or move Olaf up 1, because I don't think the Ocean Tile is like that critical right now. Yeah, getting the Static Shiv and the Locket early, it definitely, even though the Locket hasn't played a huge role yet, it definitely gives my team a much better like health total than we might have had we not built them. Because maybe these other teams would have steamrolled us even harder, and then we'd be at 20 health instead of 28 at this point in the game. Another useful thing about Locket is that if you're ever facing a lot of poison comps, it actually blocks the poison proc because it's like a shield. So it is pretty decent against them. And there are 2 other Singed players this game, so I guess that's another reason for me to build Locket right now. I don't really need to hold on to this Malphite. I don't know why I have him there. So we get great items. We get second Locket and we get Hush for Olaf. Ideally, you'd want like maybe Dragon Claw's better on Olaf, but we're also able to hit him there. And again, it's not really due to luck. It's because no one's going for him. So it's like actually surprising that it took us this long to find him. So here I'm just rolling down for Poison. Kog'Maw would do, but preferably you'd want Singed. So I do get the Volibear there as well, but for some reason I skip over him. But we finally get the Singed, so Poison's very good. Even though I I'd ideally want to have Morel on him. It's honestly fine, just because poison just delays enemy spells, which makes my Locket have higher value, and it allows time for my Olaf to actually get his ultimate off. So this guy's mistake was getting Veigar 3 with no mana items. You probably shouldn't do that in your games, in case you're wondering of how to play Veigar carry. You need 3 tiers on Veigar to make that work. So, not much reason to roll here. I should probably second row Olaf. Maybe put my Singe in the second row as well, so he doesn't get focused right away. So Singe, if you read Alchemist, it like allows him to walk through units. So I definitely should second row him right now instead of putting him in the front line. So like my Berserkers won't actually block him. But I think I was too focused on doing everything else correctly this game to bother with my Singe positioning. He does get the Locket here, so it's not that terrible, I guess. But yeah, if you look at his Singe, he's not poisoning our front line because they have Locket. Unfortunately, my Olaf does get poisoned, but like you could see the power of shields. It just completely counters poison comp. So if you ever have like a Taric or an Amumu, and you're against like a Singe player, always look into maybe getting a Locket late game, because it'll block the poison proc on them. Just a note on Twitch in this comp, whenever you're going the poison build, you don't actually need items on him. He might as well be a Cogmal, that's level 1. It really doesn't do anything for this comp. If you get like a bunch of Infinity Edges, it might be worth it to get level 9 and put in Rangers, but he really doesn't, he just really doesn't do that much. I probably shouldn't have rolled there for the 2 upgrades. I think I should have just waited for level 9. Because even though I am low health, it's like these upgrades don't really do anything for me. Like, what's getting Volibear or Jax upgraded gonna actually do for my team? Probably not too much, since they're pretty minor units. Oh, and in terms of positioning for Berserkers, you'll see a lot of people backline everyone or frontline everyone. So if you have the RFC, what I like to do is frontline everyone and put Olaf behind them. Reason behind that is just because he won't jump to the front, and that's what you want when you have RFC. I generally only do the full in the back placement if I have either some good hexes there, or if I don't have RFC. But we also have the Ocean Hex on the front row. Ideally, you'd want it on Scion, but I want to maximize the Locket buff, so I'm placing him in the center. Scion does very well with mana items, just because he's your only form of CC. We're lucky enough to get the Desert buff with the Berserker spat here. It's just one of the things that you can fit if you do get the Berserker spat item. It's by no means required or anything at all like that. But getting Desert's very good. Just because it's like your team only does physical damage, so apart from like poison, it's the best synergy. So at level 7, you want to be running 6 Berserkers plus 1 Desert. At level 8, you want to take out the Desert, put in 2 poison, or 3 poison, and then at level 9 you could add Desert back in. But since we have the spat, we can do both right now. Also, one thing to note, in terms of Desert synergies, obviously the best unit is Kha'Zix, but when you're going Berserkers, you need an item holder for Singe for Morellos. So I actually recommend using Azir for that, for like your mid-game Desert unit. So you get the Azir 2, you put Morello on him and any other AP item that you plan on transferring to Singe, and then once you hit Singe, sell Azir at level 8, put in 2 poisons, swap all the Singe items from Azir onto Singe, and then once you hit level 9, you could just put in any random Desert unit at the end of the game. So I make a mistake of rolling here again. I really should not do that. The only thing I could hit is Singe 2. Maybe I was afraid that the game was going to end, but I think it might have been better. If I didn't roll from the beginning, I could have hit level 9 and be even stronger. Because honestly, like, level 2 Jax didn't matter because I ended up selling him anyways. And then level 2 Volibear, like, he's the weakest Berserker right now. He's really only there for the glacial buff for Olaf. Don't get me wrong, Volibear is a very strong early game Berserker. He's probably the strongest one because when you pair him with Ornn, he gets the electric procs. But at this point in the game, it's like, I should have just waited for level 9. This Olaf 2 is not happening, so I should probably just, or this Olaf 3 start is not happening, but I should probably just sell him for interest if enough gold drops here. So this Guardian Angel, I probably want to put it on Scion just to guarantee the CC he gets off. You don't really need anyone else to hold it. Singed, while he's great with Guardian Angel, I find he's the last to die anyways because I normally position him in the second row. So I tend not to like putting Guardian Angel on Singed, especially if he's level 2. He's going to be living the entire time anyways. Lucky for us, we do find the Singed, but yeah, he generally just lives the whole time if he's level 2. In which case, you always want Guardian Angel on someone either you really need to protect or someone that that dies really early, such as your tank units. You'll notice here that here, let me rewind that for a second. So I scouted for Zephyrs, and I just swapped my Singe there, and Singe can't get disabled, so you'll notice that his Zephyr actually hits Singe. I don't know if it won me the round, but it definitely helps. And we beat the guy who high-rolled Kindred too. So despite playing a pretty weak late-game comp, we're able to defeat one of the guys with perfect items and an early health advantage. So I'm just rolling to get a level 2 Desert here. Doesn't really matter who I get, to be honest, though, because it shouldn't really affect much of the game. Lucky for us, I think Berserkers just counter Assassins because, especially with Lockets, we're just much stronger than him. Because Assassins generally are good against compositions with weak backlines, but our backline is Twitch and Azir, and we just do not care about those units. One thing to note, I did forget to put my Guardian Angel on last round. I don't know why that happened, but yeah, we just counter his composition, and that's how you can win with Berserkers. So again, we had a very strong start with Yasuo 2 and the Static Shiv, but you get the same starts whenever you build Lockets. So one thing you could do is like Ornn, Volibear, and then 2 other Berserkers for like a 4-man unit, and put the Locket on ideally, you want the Lockets on Scion, but early game you don't get Scion early, so you can just put it on Volibear to hold the entire game, which is perfectly fine. You could also build Zeke's as well. And be sure to scout, because we saw that no one was going for Olaf, and that allowed us to hit him without rolling too much. So always go for uncontested comps, and even though we had perfect Ranger items, you always want to look for other compositions that you can transition to, because we did not hit the Ashe at all. We didn't even have Vayne early game to hold any items. We did hit the Varus, but Varus isn't really that useful of a Ranger, so once we hit that early Olaf with like decent items on him at the time, we ended up getting very good items, obviously with Hush, Rapid Fire Cannon, and Infinity Edge, but if we didn't hit those, we'd still get 3rd or 2nd most likely, but since we were able to hit pretty good items, still able to get a 1st, and again, Berserker's not very item dependent, contrary to popular belief, and if you get like good early game items, you don't need to rely on hitting Olaf 2 as often. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Thanks so much for watching, and I do make guides of my... And I do make Hope you guys enjoyed this video. That's pretty much how you play Berserkers. You want to focus on the early game items and then just use whatever leftover items you have on Olaf. In this game, we ended up transitioning from Rangers into Berserkers just due to the items that we were getting, or just due to the champions that we were getting. And but yeah, that's it for today. Again, I'm BunnyMuffins with ProGuides, and I also make guides myself on my YouTube channel at BunnyMuffins at youtube.com/BunnyMuffins. Thanks so much, and I'll see you guys next time.